this is Henry the computer guy, and you're most welcome to our fifth video about databases. If at all you missed my previous videos, I would advise you to visit my YouTube channel, check under my playlist, then look for the folder called Working with Databases. Then you'll be able to follow along with us. In this video, we are actually going to be learning how we can work with the forms in Microsoft Access. So without wasting any time, let's dive into the real practice and we see how this one can be done. Remember, in our previous videos, we created a database called School Database, and it is the one that we are going to be continuing with. So let's open it right away by right-clicking onto it and click on the option that says Open. And having opened it, this is how it will display. Up here, we have the name of the database, that is the school database. And in this database, we only had one table, and it was called the students table. Remember, I told you that whenever you want to open your table, you can always double click on it, or you can always right click onto it and click on the option that says open. But it's not only open that we can work with here. There are many options you can as well choose from. For example, design view, import, export, rename, delete, copy, and others. So you can always be able to choose what exactly you want to work with. So for our case now, let's click on the option that says open. And having clicked open, this is the information that is already into our table. Remember, in the previous video, I promised to come back when I've entered at most 10 records that we can always work with. So before we do our form, let's first of all understand what the table was all about. So we had our students table, and this is the information we had. We had the arrival number, the student's ID, we had the names, we had the date of birth, their positions, we had the gender, we had the total amount they had to pay. For example, someone in boarding was supposed to pay 500,000. Someone in this section was supposed to pay 300,000. And this is the amount of money they managed to pay. For example, out of the 500, someone paid 100. Out of the 500, someone paid 200. So we also had another field for the balance, which had a calculated field, and it was subtracting the fees and the amount paid. So that one was done automatically by our calculated field. So we also had another column for yes or no, and if someone was supposed to be in boarding, then we had to check that one. Then this section, we had to leave that one as a no. So boarding section, we had to tick. Then this section, we had to leave it as a no. Then we also had the column for the photos where we put our images. And remember, the data type for this one was OLE, which is the object linking and embedding used to store the graphics. So now let's look at any of the pics and we see how it can be displayed. Remember, I told you that you cannot always look at them here, but you can double click on any and you'll see which image is there. For example, when I double click onto this, after double clicking it, it will display the image. And this is how you can always be able to look at the images that you have stored in the data type called object linking and embedding. Let's minimize it and continue. We also had another column for the emails, and this is how we entered them. We also had another column for the attachments, and I managed to add only one attachment to that column. So let's scroll through and look at the remaining data. So of course, I've already talked about the balance. It was a calculated field. It was subtracting the fees and the amount paid. Then when we come to the telephone numbers, this is the column where we had to enter our telephone numbers and we gave it an input MASIC. So lastly, we had the column for date of entry, and we assigned this to be automatically given to when we enter data. So when you enter data, it will be given automatically. We set it as a default value. So whenever you enter data, it gives the date for that day. For example, when you have entered the data. So that is what we had previously. So we can as well start looking at our form. But before we start working with our form, let me pose a question. what is a form? So actually forms are user-friendly interfaces for entering and viewing or displaying the data which is already available into our table or database. So that means that whenever you want to add data into the table, you can always use a form. Whenever you want to view the data which is already into the table, you can also use a form. And whenever you want to update the data which is already into the table, you can also use a form. So that means that we can always use forms for adding, viewing, and updating data which is already into our database or tables. So having understood what a form means and what it does, we can now work with our form. So let's get our first question. So we are going to be designing our form. How can we design a form? For us to design a form, we are going to come to the option that says create. And having clicked on create, you're going to look for the section that says form, which is this one. And when you look here, we have many forms we can work with. For example, we can have the form, we can have the form design, we can have a blank design, but for our case, we are going to be selecting the form wizard. Why am I selecting the form wizard? Because this is just going to be guiding us through the session when we are creating our forms. Let's select that option that says form wizard. And having clicked it, you give it some time and it will load. So down here, they're going to ask some questions. For example, which fields do you want on your form? So you have to select the fields you want to appear onto your form. And down here, we have the tables or the queries. When you have multiple tables, you'll have to come here and select exactly the table where you want to create the form from. For example, for my case, I had only one table. So it is just selected automatically because I only had one table. If you also had queries, then you would be able to select the query you want. So now let's come down here on the available fields. We want to select these fields to come to this side. And when you look here, we have a single arrow and double arrow. So whenever we have the single arrow, it only takes one field at a time. Whenever you want to select a field from this side, let's say one by one, you can always use the single arrow. If you want to select many of them, you can always use the double arrow. And if at all you made some errors, you can always use the single arrow to take them back, or use the double arrow to take all of them at once. So for my case, I'm going to use the double arrow because they have not specified which field I have to take. So I'm going to be taking all of them. If the question specifies, then you always have to use the single arrow to select only that field that you're going to be using or they have told you. So let me use my double arrows. And having selected them, the whole fields have been brought to this side. So I'm going to click on next. And having clicked next, then they will ask me for the layout I'm going to be using. What layout would you like for your form? So we have different layouts here. For example, we have the columnar, we have the tabular, we have the data sheet, we have the justified. It depends on how your question is asking. So for my case, I'm going to be working with the first one as the columnar. Then I will come and click on next. And having clicked next, they will ask me for the title. Which name do I want to give my form? Of course, the question will tell you save your form as, let's say, students form. So for my case, I'm going to save it as students form. Then that would be the title. So down here, we also have some two options. They're asking open the form and view or enter the information. Then down, modify the form design. If at all you wanted to make some changes on your form, then you would come and click on option that says modify. So for my case, I want to open it. So I'll come and select the option that says open. Then I'll come and say finish. So this is how the information has been given to me. For example, you're looking at our students form. This is what we have. We have the arrival number, the student's ID, student's name. The all information we had into our table has been given to us on a form. Remember, this was the download. We have the balance, we have the telephone, we have the date of entry. So it has been given to us. So this is how exactly we can create our form. So now, they're going to be giving you other questions. For example, they can tell you to modify and put some colors, some backgrounds. You can always do that. For example, whenever I want to make some modifications, we come to the option that says views. And when you look at the option that says views, they have added us another option. For example, we have the form view, we have the layout view, then we have the design view. You can always switch between these views and modify your form the way you feel you want. For example, we want to put some, let's say, colors. Let's come to the design view first of all. And when we come to the design view, we can always enlarge this in this size such that we can view the items very well. So when I come to my form here, this is the name, I can highlight it. For example, I want to put some font color. I'll come to my home, then I'll come to, let's say I want to make it bold, then I want to give it some color. Let me give it a red color. You see that the information is changing. So when I want to put it in the center, of course, it will be in the center. So now, what if they also told you that you're going to be changing some colors for the, let's say, the background color of your form? Then I will just come to this in the free space, for example. This is where I have the free space. I'll come and right click. And when you right click into that free space, you can always come to the fill or back color. Then you come and select a lighter color for your form. For example, I'm going to select this. So that one is not fine. Let me select another one by right clicking, come to the option that says fill, then look for another color. So this is the color that we have put. And when we come back to our layout view to see how it looks like, this is how it will be looking like. So you can always play with this information. And for example, if you wanted to put some image, let's say a logo, we can always do that one by coming to the option that says logo. And when I come to this option, I'll be given an option of choosing a logo from my computer. Let me say I want to come to my desktop. I'll come to my rig, then I'll come and look for a badge for a school. For example, the badge will be given to me just like that. So I can always modify this image. I can put it in the center. Let me enlarge it and put it aside. Let me say I want to put it in the middle, just like that. So that is how my image will also look like. So you can always be playing with your data. Now, when you look at this information, remember we had 10 records. Let's move through and see whether this information exists. When you look at it, it goes on changing. So now they can always tell you to put some buttons you can use to navigate through your form. So what you're going to do, you can also do that from here. For example, I'll come here onto this section. I'll look for what we call button. And when I click on it, I'll come and drag it and draw it somewhere. And when I put it there, for example, they will give me some options. What action do you want to happen when the button is pressed? So I want to go to the next record. I'm going to choose that. Look for next record. Go to the next record. And I'll select it. Having selected it, I'll come and click on next. After clicking on next, they will ask me that, do you want to use a picture or a text? I would use the text. Let me click on text. Now come and say next. Then I'll write the text that will appear there. Let's say next record. Then I'll say finish. So they'll put my button aside. So I'll drag it and put it wherever I feel I want. So for example, I want it to be down here. Let me put it just here aside. So I can as well be able to enlarge this button by dragging to any other side. So that means that whenever I click this button, it will be taking me to another record. Let's add another button. For example, we want to, let's say, go to the previous record. I'll come onto it, then I'll come and drag and put it where I want that button to be. Of course, I'll come back and look for what it's supposed to do. Go to the previous record. Having clicked on it, I'll come and select next. After clicking next, they will ask me whether I want to use a picture or the text. I need the text. Then I'll come to next. Then I type there previous record. After typing it, I'll come and say finish. So it has been added to this one. Those are now 2 buttons. Let's add more 2 buttons. For example, I needed another button for, let's say, printing. I would come and click onto the button, then I'll come and drag and put it where I want it. Then I'll look for the option that says print. When I look here, it is not there in the list. So I'll come to the second option. I'll look for that. For example, we have add new record, delete, update. So I need the print. I'll select the option that says print record. And having selected it, I'll come and click on next. So after clicking next, they will ask me whether I can use the image or I can use the word. Let me use the image because many people can always understand what the image for the printer is. So I'll come and say next. Then I'll come and finish. So the printer has been put into my data. So now let's add another one button. I'll come to the button, then I'll drag and put it wherever I feel I want it to be. I want to save a record. For example, after updating some information into my table, I can always update it. I can always update information from my phone. Then I will click on the option that says save. So I'll come to the second record operation. Then I'll look for save record. Then I'll come and say next. Having done that, I want another word. Then I'll come and say yes. I'll type the word save record. Save record. So after that, I will come and click finish. So I have 4 buttons with me now. So you're seeing that we can even put this one somewhere. We can as well put it a little bit here by enlarging it. This is what we have for now. So when I want to move through my records, I can always say next record or previous record or print record or save record. But we cannot do it from here. We always have to go back to the section that says view, then form view. And when you come to the form view, now you can be able to work with the buttons that you have selected. So now we have one here. For example, if I want to go to the next record, I can click on it. It will go to number 2, as you're seeing here. I want to go to number 3. I want to go to number 4. As you're seeing, information goes on changing. This is Word. Then if we go to the previous, that was Excel. Next, Word. This is Word. This is Word. This is Word. Now this is a PDF. So it is number 7. So we can always decide to print by clicking onto that button. It will bring for you this option. Then you select the number of pages you want, the type of printer you want to use, and continue to the print section. And if you had modified some information into your form, you can always use the button that says save record. For example, let's go back to the design view and assuming that we wanted to make another calculation. Let's make a calculation in a form because calculations are also possible to be performed in a form. Let's make one calculation. Remember, we had the fees and we had the balance. Assuming that we wanted to get the next term is fees. Let's go back to the design view and do that. So let's come to the option that says view, then come to design view. And having come to the design view, we can scroll down a little such that we can see what we are working with. So I'm going to copy one. I'm going to be selecting these fields such that I can edit the information in them. Then I make my calculation. Let me copy this one for the balance. By right-clicking onto it, then come to the option that says copy. After, I will click in any free space and press Ctrl V onto my keyboard. After pressing Ctrl V, you're going to see that they have pasted it up here. I can drag it to where I want it to be. For example, I want it to be here. Then you leave it. So we are going to edit the information into this. And we write, let's say, next. Let's say next term fees. Next term fees. We're going to put next term fees. And after putting it there, we also have to add a formula for that. Remember, someone is having the balance and is supposed to pay the money for the next term. That means that we are going to be adding the balance and the fees. So we shall come to this section. We wrap this word. We put an equal sign. After putting an equal sign, remember you have to know what you're going to be adding. Remember, this person is in boarding section. We will have to add the fees. Then the balance that that person has. So I'm going to open my square brackets. After opening my square brackets, I'll write this word the way it appears here. For example, fees. Capital F, then small e, then fees. I'll close my square bracket. Then I'll add a plus symbol. Then open my square bracket and add the balance. That means that for the next term, someone will be able to pay the balance and even the money for that or the fees for that term. So I'll add the fees plus the balance. So I'm going to write this name the way it appears here. Capital B, then small letters, balance. Then I'll close my bracket. After that, I will come back to my view option. Then I'll come to the layout and see, or to the form view and see what exactly that has happened. After clicking on it, they are going to give us the next term is fees. So of course they have gotten this fees, for example, 500,000, and this person had a balance of 400,000. So if they add 500 to this one, it becomes 900. You can always work with this. When we come back to the layout view, we can always come and make some modifications. For example, I want this data to be in the middle. I can always come and work with it. I want it to be, for example, red. I can always come and select that. I want it to be bold. I can work with that. I can change the font. For example, I can also shade anything that I feel I want. So you can always make modifications into your form the way you feel you want. Let me look for a lighter color. So that is it. So it shows us the next term is phase. So that is how you can actually work with that. Another question is going to be on the header. Let's say they have asked you to add the header and the footer. We can always come and add the header. By coming back to our home, we come to the view, then come back to the design view. So when we come to the design view, up here is where we can put the header, and down is where we can put the footer. So let's first of all put the header. Whenever you want to put the header, you always have to look for the option that says label. When you look for that label, you'll come and draw it where you want to write your header. For example, I want to put my index number there. I will come and put, let's say, 001. Then I will go down. I'll scroll down to the footer section. I will come and enlarge it a little by dragging it down a little. Then I'll go back and look for my label again. Then I will come and draw it here. For example, I want to put my name. So the other one was the index number as the header. So here I want to put my name. Let's say Henry the computer, Henry the computer guy. Let's say I can also put my number. Let's say 070133417. So this is my footer. So when I go back to the form or to the view and pick the form view, this is how it will appear. I have my header here, then my footer always appears down. So that is how we can add the header and the footer to our form. So for example, if at all we wanted to also download some information, you just come and click here, then they will show you that here we have some information. Manage attachments. For example, click on it. You can always add, you can always open, you can always save. That means that you can always download it and save it onto your computer. Or you can just open it right away. So you can do anything that you feel you want onto your form. That is how we can do it. So now, the last thing we are going to be doing is to enter one or two more records, and we'll see whether this information really will be saved into our database table. So let's come to what we call the buttons, and we click up to the last record. Remember, this is number 1. We have to go up to number 10. So I'm going to say next record twice. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now when we click the next, it is going to take us to a blank field. That means that we are going to be using this blank field to enter a new record. So we are going to be coming to this section. Remember, the first one was given automatically. We cannot write anything there. So I'll just come and type something here. For example, it is going to be 11. Remember, we had only 10, so I'm going to the 11th person. So I'll come and say 11. Then I'll come and choose the name. Let's say this person is going to be called Kajula. So this person is called Kajula. Then we come to the DOB. Let's say this person 02, let's say 05, let's say 1995. Then we can come to the position. Let's say it was the 11th position. That is it. Then we can come to the gender. We select our gender is a male. Then we can always add the fees. It's supposed to be in boarding section, so I'm going to put 500,000. 500,000. Then we can always come and amount paid. What has he paid so far? He has paid 270,000. 1, 2, 3. But remember, the balance here has to be calculated automatically. When we continue, the balance will be put automatically for us. So when I come to the next option here, which is the boarding section, of course, if it is 500, it is supposed to be boarding. I'll come and select this. And when you come and see this one has been put automatically, that is calculated. We use what we call a calculated field. It does everything automatically. You're not supposed to always modify it. It will do it automatically. So if you wanted a photo for this, let's come and choose one photo. I'm going to put any photo. I'll come and copy this field, this photo. Then we'll come back to my database. I'll come and paste it there by pressing Ctrl V. So the image will come there. Then after, I'll come and put the email for Kajula. Let's say Kajula. Let's say Kajula D. Kajula Dan at gmail.com. So that is the email. So when we scroll up again, we can attach a file by double clicking here. Then we come and say add. Then we look for any file. For example, I want to put a budget. I'll come and select the budget. Then it will come. Then I'll say, okay, this is how it will be displayed. It is Excel. So this one has been calculated automatically. Then the date of entry has been put automatically. Then we can put the phone number. And when you come to the phone number, remember we use what we call the input mask. And we said the first three here we are represented with a 9, which is not required. And these ones we are represented with a 0. So we can leave this one unanswered or unattended to. Then we can start from here. It depends on any that you feel you want. For example, 0, that will be 7, 8, 4, 5. That means that you can always fill them the way you want. Or you can come and add. That means that it is just option. You can always add or not. So it is not always required. I can come here and I put it there. Let's say 2, 5, 6. I can put it just like that. That is what we had. After doing that, we are going to come and click on the next record. After clicking on the next record, they will take us to an empty space. That means that we can add that 12th person. If at all we wanted to look at the data we have entered into our database, we have to, first of all, save. After saving, we close the form. Let's right click onto the form and click on option that says save. After saving, we can close. Then we can also close this table by right clicking onto it and click on the option that says save. After, we can close it. Then we want to see whether the data has been entered there. Remember, we only had 10 records. We want to see whether we have added the 11th record. So I'll come and double click or right click onto my table and say open. And having opened, we now have 11 records. So that is how you can work with the form. In summary, we have looked at how we can create a form, how we can add a logo, how we can change the font size, font color, the background, how we can add the buttons, making some simple calculations there, adding the header and footer, and also adding new records to our table. If you're new to my channel, please help me and click the subscribe button. Bye-bye. I sign out. Hope to see you in the next video.